The Last Plague Blight is a medieval survival game. You are dealing with this green gas called the Blight that has infected the land. The game uses the top-down view, which is great. The absolute majority of survival games are first person, so I'm happy we still get the occasional top-down games. As is typical, you start with nothing and need to build up from scratch. In this game, even simple tasks take a while, and progression is slow but meaningful. Don't expect to build gigantic castles or bases, at least not anytime soon. This doesn't seem to be possible at the moment, but having your first functioning shelter with a roof to keep your valuable stuff out of the rain is a significant accomplishment already. This game wants to double down on realism, so this kinda makes sense. If you are actually alone in a world like that, then you wouldn't be able to build a massive base in just a couple of days. The world is procedurally generated, so you'll want to find a good place near water, woods and maybe a road. Lots of food here is infected with the blight, so you need to cook most of it in order to make it safe for consumption. You have to manage hunger, thirst and sleep. It's pretty nice because you don't have to eat and drink every 5 minutes, like it is in many other games. It is simply a bit more realistic here. For hunting, you have various traps. Pressing the Alt key highlights all the interactive items in the world, which is always a nice feature to have. The crafting here is quite detailed. You start with basic stuff like fire pits, and then move on to kilns for making bricks and pottery, and furnaces for metalworking. You have to actually gather clay, shape it and fire it to make things. If you don't enjoy an intricate crafting system that is gonna take up a big chunk of your time, then this game may perhaps be too much into crafting for you. Building is pretty freeform here. There are basically no grids, so you have a lot of freedom and authenticity when it comes to your base layout. You want to build a shelter soon, because weather affects your stuff. Things left in the rain get wet of course, and salt dissolves if it's not protected. Now this game is still very much in early access. The story for pushing back the blight and eventually finding a cure is not fully implemented yet, and so are many other features, like trading with NPCs, character customization, official controller support, taming animals, and also fishing. These things I mentioned are all on the developer's roadmap, but since it is a small studio, these things will take time. The game has combat, but it is still relatively rough and bare bones, especially the animations. Animal spawns can be fairly inconsistent as well, like bears or coyotes spawning inside your fenced-off area. These things sometimes happen, which needs fixing of course. Right now, there is about 7 hours worth of unique content in the game, which, keeping in mind the developer aims for at least 50 hours of content for the final release, is not that much currently. Ultimately, this seems like it is one of those early access titles that you buy to get a first impression of the game, and to support the developer, not just financially, but with feedback to shape the game into what it's supposed to become. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.